Ethan Cole never liked the dark, but tonight, as the wind shivered through the pines of rural Georgia, he feared it more than he ever had before. His hands trembled on the cold metal railing of the county courthouse steps. Behind him, the heavy oak doors banged shut, muffling the jeers of the townsfolk who had just watched him leave in disgrace. Just last week, Ethan was the trusted mechanic everyone called when their truck stalled, or when the old farmhouse furnace groaned in winter's chill. He had lived his whole life in Pine Hollow, the kind of small town where everybody knew your mother's name and your father's sins. Then the sheriff's daughter, 16-year-old Annie Reynolds, vanished. 3 days later, they found her scarf snagged on the fence behind Ethan's auto shop, speckled with blood. He tried to explain. He'd never even spoken to Annie outside of polite hellos at the gas station. But in Pine Hollow, once suspicion found you, it never let go. They dragged him from his shop at dusk, fists swinging, words spitting like fire. He still felt the phantom burn of the sheriff's cold stare, the way it branded him guilty without a word spoken. They held him in the old county jail for 2 nights, the iron bars whispering that the rope was waiting. But then Annie was found, alive, dazed, wandering the back roads near the river. She'd been hurt but could mumble just enough to tell them about a stranger with a pickup from out of town. Someone she didn't know. Someone who wasn't Ethan Cole. They let him go without an apology. The sheriff couldn't even look him in the eye. The same men who nearly strung him up under the old oak in the courthouse square turned their backs when he stepped outside. The same neighbors who'd prayed with him every Sunday now crossed the street when they saw him coming. Now Ethan stood alone on those courthouse steps, listening to the pines whisper in the dusk. The world felt too wide and too narrow all at once. Wide enough to swallow him whole, narrow enough to squeeze the breath from his lungs. He didn't know where to go. The sign on his shop door had been ripped down, glass shattered in his windows. He pictured his mother's grave at the edge of the hollow, under the weeping willow she'd planted herself. He thought of the promise he'd made her, that he'd be better than his father, honest, decent, hard-working. A single headlight flickered on the road below. Sheriff Reynolds' cruiser slowed, then paused. For a moment, Ethan thought maybe the sheriff would get out, say something, anything. But the engine growled, the car rolled on, and Ethan was left in the wind. He sank to the courthouse steps, pulling his jacket tight around him as if it could keep out the poison of this town. He thought of Annie, safe, alive, and let that be enough to keep him breathing. He thought of leaving, of California, maybe, or somewhere where the pines didn't remember him. Above him, the courthouse flag rustled against the gathering night. Somewhere far off, a train whistle cut through the silence. A promise that the tracks went on, that they could carry him far from Pine Hollow if only he could stand up, walk away, and never look back. And as the shadows crept longer across the square, Ethan Cole closed his eyes and listened for the whistle again, letting it drown out the echo of a noose that almost found his neck.